Shalom Israel, my name is Kabash. This is Deacon Izar. We are from True Nation Israelite Congregation. And today we're going to get into a lesson about the covenant our forefathers made with the Most High God, Yahweh. So we're going to start off in Ecclesiasticus chapter 44 and verse 19.
Ecclesiasticus 44 verse 19. Abram was a great father of many people. In glory was there none like unto him, who kept the law of the Most High, and was in covenant with him.
So this is Abraham, our forefather, with the covenant, where we're going to start the beginning of our covenant. And it said Abraham was found faithful in the eyes of the Most High God, because during that time there was a lot of wickedness going on, but we just read that Abraham was still upheld the laws of the Most High God. And therefore, it's the reason why God had created a covenant with him. Continue on.
He established the covenant in his flesh. And when he was proved, he was found faithful.
So it said when he was proved, because he was tested with his son Isaac. Most High God told him to go sacrifice his son and to see if he was going to do it or not. And right before he was about to do it, an angel came and stopped him. But in other words, the Most High God was testing his faith, in which he had passed. And that's the reason why he created this covenant with him. And we're going to get that in Genesis 12. So that you'll see what actually happened between Abraham and the Most High God, and why he established the covenant with him. So Genesis 12, verse 1.
Genesis 12 and 1. Now the Lord had said unto Abram, Get thee out of thy country, and from thy kindred, and from thy father's house, unto a land that I will show thee.
So this is when the Most High first began to talk to Abraham. This is a command that he's giving him, because he had found him faithful for keeping the laws, although Abraham's family was not keeping the laws. Continue on.
And I will make thee of a great nation, and I will bless thee, and make thy name great, and thou shalt be a blessing.
So in other words, as every other commandment the Most High God gave us, he gave us a blessing if we kept it, and a curse if we didn't keep it. So right here, he's telling what Abraham to do and what will happen if you do it. And as we go on, you'll see that Abraham did follow this. And as we read in Ecclesiasticus 44, it says Abraham was already a father of many nations. So continue on.
And I will bless them that bless thee, and curse him that curse thee.
Continue on.
And in thee shall all families of the earth be blessed.
And what did Abraham do?
So Abram departed as the Lord had spoken unto him. And Lot went with him. And Abram was 75 years old when he departed out of Haran.
Continue on.
And Abram took Sarah his wife, and Lot his brother's son, and all their substance that they had gathered, and the soul that they had gotten in Haran. And they went forth to go into a land of Canaan, and into the land of Canaan they came.
So this Most High gave Abraham a command. He got up, got his wife, got his nephew, and they left as the Most High God commanded him. Now let's go back to Ecclesiasticus 44. So this is like one of the main reasons why the Most High God found Abraham faithful, because it was never a problem for him to follow his commandments, his statutes, and his judgments. Ecclesiasticus 44, we're going to start at 21 now.
Ecclesiasticus 44 and 21. Therefore he assured him by an oath that he would bless the nation in his seed, and that he would multiply him as the dust of the earth, and exalt his seed as the stars, and cause them to inherit from sea to sea, and from the river unto the utmost parts of the land.
So as we just read that in Genesis 12, he said he would make his seeds, give him nations to come out of his loins, pretty much. So we're going to get that where the Most High actually told Abraham that. We're going to go to Genesis 15, verse 5. So this is another time when the Most High God is talking to Abraham after he had left the land of Chaldees.
Genesis 15 and verse 5. And he brought him forth abroad and said, Look now toward heaven.
So he told him, Abraham, to look unto heaven.
And tell the stars if thou be able to number them.
And and asked him, "Can you number the stars that you see?"
And he said unto him, So shall thy seed be.
You'll find out you cannot number the stars that are in heaven or the sands that are upon the sea. And this is the Most High God said, "This is the covenant that I'm making with you." He said, "What's going to come out of your loins, all the nations that's going to come from you, is going to be as the number of the stars in the land of the sea." Let's drop down to verse 18.
Verse 18. In the same day the Lord made a covenant with Abram, saying,
This is another covenant that he made with him. Go on.
Unto thy seed have I given this land, from the river of Egypt unto the great river Euphrates. The Kenite and the Kenizzite and the Kedemites and the Hittites and the Perizzites and the Rephaims and the Amorites and the Canaanites and the Girgashites and the Jebusites.
So this is all the inheritance the Most High God had actually reserved for the nation of Israel once they come. But we know through transgression our portion became smaller and smaller. But nevertheless, originally, this was the covenant the Most High God made with Abraham, and showing you that Abraham saw the promised land as well. And this is what's supposed to be given onto the nation of Israel, starting because of the Most High God found Abraham faithful. Let's just go back to Ecclesiasticus 44. And we're going to start at verse 22 now.
Ecclesiasticus 44, verse 22. With Isaac did he establish likewise for Abram, his father's sake.
So Isaac was one of the sons of Abraham, and because Abraham had other sons as well, but specifically speaking, the covenant went down from Abraham to Isaac. Continue on.
The blessings of all men and the covenant.
All right, so now let's go to Genesis. We'll go to chapter 17. Like I said, Abraham had, Ishmael as well. But once you see the Most High God, he chooses who he wants the covenant to be passed down to. So in this case, it didn't go to Ishmael, although he was the first son. It went to Isaac, and we'll see why. Genesis 17, we could start at verse 7.
Genesis 17, verse 7. And I will establish my covenant between me and thee, and thy seed after thee, and their generations, for an everlasting covenant, to be a God unto thee, and to thy seed after thee.
So this is also showing possession right here. It said, "I'll make my covenant between thee and the seed after thee forever." So it was only for Abraham, and it said his seed, which you'll find out goes on to Isaac, and then from Isaac's seed it goes down to Jacob, and from Jacob the 12 tribes of Israel, which ends up with all of us right now today, the so-called blacks, the so-called Latinos, and so-called Native American. And it says for an everlasting covenant, and that he'll be our God. Drop down to verse 10.
Verse 10. This is my covenant, which ye shall keep between me and you and thy seed after thee. Every man-child among you shall be circumcised. And ye shall circumcise the flesh of your foreskin. And it shall be a token of the covenant betwixt me and you. And he that is 8 days old shall be circumcised among you. Every man-child in your generations that is born in the house or bought with money bought with money or of any stranger which is not of thy seed. He that is born in thy house and he that is bought with thy money must needs be circumcised.
So in other words, it's another covenant the Most High made with us. It's saying this is supposed to happen for every generation within the men of Israel. It's saying after the 8th day, as a man-child was born, he must be circumcised. It said it was a token of the covenant that he made from the beginning with Abraham. Drop down to verse. Drop down to verse 19.
Verse 19. And God said, Sarah thy wife shall bear thee a son. Indeed, and thou shalt call his name Isaac.
So Sarah originally, in the beginning, she was barren. But now he's telling her that Sarah shall have a child. And there's going to be something special about this child. Go on.
And I will establish my covenant with him forever. And I will establish my covenant with him for an everlasting covenant, and with his seed after him.
So showing you right there, it said the covenant is going to go to the child that comes out of Sarah, which is Isaac. Because we know that Abraham married Hagar and had Ishmael. But here, Most High specific said it's going to go to Isaac through Sarah. Continue action.
And as for Ishmael, I have heard thee. Behold, I have blessed him, and will make him fruitful, and will multiply him exceedingly. 12 princes shall he beget, and I will make him a great nation.
Because Abraham did have favor unto Ishmael. That was his firstborn son, you know, his inheritance, his power, his strength. So therefore the Most High God said, I'll still bless Ishmael, but the covenant is going to go into Isaac. Go down 21.
But my covenant will I establish with Isaac, which Sarah shall bear unto thee, at this set time in the next year.
So in other words, he just repeating himself again. The covenant can only go to the child that comes from Sarah, which is Isaac, which she had in the old age. Now let's go to Genesis 21. So that you get the birth of Isaac. As we read, it went from Abraham to Isaac, and then now it's going to go to, later on you get that it goes to Isaac to Jacob. So Genesis 21, verse 1.
Genesis 21, verse 1. And the Lord visited Sarah, and he said, and the Lord visited Sarah, and he had said, and the Lord did unto Sarah as he had spoken.
So as we just read in Genesis 17, he said he did as he spoke. In other words, he had told her that you're going to bear a child, because Sarah was barren at first, so she didn't believe it. Go ahead.
For Sarah conceived and bare Abraham a son in his old age, at the set time of which God had spoken to him. And Abram called the name of his son that was born unto him, who Sarah bare to him, Isaac.
Read verse 4.
And Abram circumcised his son Isaac, being 8 days old, as God had commanded him.
So it's just showing you right there that the covenant had went down from Abraham unto Isaac. And then also that just one of the other covenants that Isaac was also circumcised after the 8th day of his birth. Now let's go to drop down to verse 12. Well, actually, you can go to verse 8.
Verse 8. And the child grew and was weaned, and Abram made a great feast the same day that Isaac was weaned. And Sarah saw the son of Hagar, the Egyptian, which she had born unto Abraham, mocking. Wherefore she said unto Abram, cast out this bondwoman and her son.
So Hagar was the mother of Ishmael, and obviously Sarah seen that basically he was a bad influence, you could say, onto Ishmael. She didn't want Ishmael to be around Isaac. So in other words, she told her to, to Abraham that she needs to go. Continue on.
For the son of this bondwoman shall not be heir with my son, even with Isaac.
Continue.
And the thing was very grievous in Abraham's sight, because of his son.
Mentioned again, Abraham, he had a lot of favor onto Ishmael because that was his firstborn. Continue on.
And God said unto Abraham, let it not be grievous in thy sight because of the lad, and because of thy bondwoman, and all that Sarah has said unto thee. Hearken unto her voice, for in Isaac shall thy seed be called.
So Most High just repeating himself again. A lot of times throughout the scripture, Most High will repeat himself over and over and over again so that you'll get a point across. And he just keeps telling us right now that the covenant had went onto Isaac and not Ishmael. And that's very important because a lot of people try to claim that the covenant was given unto Ishmael. Most High saw he'll bless Ishmael, but he did not give the covenant unto him. Now let's go to Genesis 22. Genesis 22, start at verse 1.
Genesis 22 and verse 1.
So right now we're going to get into, back when we had read in Ecclesiasticus 44, why Abraham was found faithful when he was proved. Because this is when Abraham had Isaac, and this is where we're about to read when the Most High tells him he has to sacrifice his son. You got that?
Yeah. Okay. Genesis 22 and 1. And it came to pass after these things, that God did tempt Abraham, and said unto him, Abraham. And he said, Behold, here I am. And he said, Take now thy son, thine only son Isaac.
He said, thy only son Isaac. We know that he had other sons, but he's only speaking to Isaac because the covenant went unto him. Continue on.
Whom thou lovest, and get thee into the land of Moriah, and offer him there for a burnt offering upon one of the mountains which I will tell thee of.
So as you just read in verse 1, it said that he came to tempt Abraham, and then what he has to do is go sacrifice his son. Drop down to verse 10. You know, throughout that chapter, you'll see that the path that they went on to get to the Mount Moriah, and pretty much the steps that happened. So we just gonna skip it, that part. You can read that. But to get straight to the point, we're gonna start at verse 10.
And Abram stretched forth his hand and took the knife to slay his son.
So he was about to do it. And what happened?
And the angel of the Lord came unto him out of heaven and said, Abraham, Abraham. And he said, Here I am.
Continue on.
And he said, Lay not thy hand upon the lad, neither do thy anything unto him. For now I know that thou fearest God, seeing thou hast not withheld thy son, thine only son, from me.
So this is one, as you read in Ecclesiasticus, that Abraham had to be proved. And this is where the angel comes and tells him, I know that you fear the Most High God. And this is the exact reason why he made a covenant with him. Now let's go to Genesis 24, verse 60. So this is why the Most High God found Abraham faithful above all the people during that time. And the reason he made the covenant, and now why it's getting passed down to Isaac.
Verse 60 or 16?
60. 24 and 60.
Genesis 24 and 60. And they blessed Rebekah and said unto her, Thou art our sister, but be thou the mother of thousands, of millions, and let thy seed possess the gate of those which hate them. So
what's going on right here, after Isaac grew older, during the time so he could be married, Abraham sent one of his servants to get a wife for Isaac, somebody of their kinsmen, and pretty much you'll find out that you read the rest of the chapter 24, you'll find out that they went to find Rebekah. And here is when her family is talking to her, telling her, giving her advice on what to do. And it says, go on, and they blessed Rebekah and said unto her, Thou art our sister, be thou a mother of thousands of millions, and let thy seed possess the gates of those which hate thee. So in other words, the covenant is already known that through Isaac, whoever he married, the covenant is going to continue on with. So let's continue. Let's go to, just go straight to the point. We're going to jump down to Genesis 25. So you'll find out that Isaac and Rebekah end up getting married. And then from now, the covenant is with Isaac, and you'll see who's going to go into next. So Genesis 25, start at verse 11.
Genesis 25 and 11. And it came to pass after the death of Abram that God blessed his son Isaac, and Isaac dwelt by the well Laharan.
So just repeating itself again, that the Most High God blessed Isaac with the covenant. Now drop down to start at verse 19.
Verse 19. And these are the generations of Isaac, Abraham's son. Abraham begat Isaac, and Isaac was 40 years old when he took Rebekah to wife, the daughter of Bethuel, the Syrian of Padan, the sister of Laban, Sarai. And Isaac entreated the Lord for his wife because she was barren, and the Lord was entreated of him.
So like as Sarah was barren, Rebekah was barren as well. Continue on.
And Rebekah his wife conceived, and the children struggled together with her. And she said, If it be so, why am I thus?
So now we're at the point where Rebecca was barren, but now it said that she conceived, meaning she's, this is during the time when she was pregnant. And it said she had twins in her womb. And it said they was pretty much, she was having issues because they was fighting in the womb already. So she's asking, why is this happening? Continue on.
And she went to inquire of the Lord.
So she went to go pray to the Most High God. And what he said?
And the Lord said unto her, 2 nations are in thy womb, and 2 manner of people shall be separate from thy bowels. And the one people shall be stronger than the other people. And the elder shall serve the younger.
So this is a prophecy that's going to happen within her 2 sons that are in her womb, which will lead unto 2 different nations of people. Continue on.
And when her days to be delivered were fulfilled, behold, there were twins in her womb. And the first came out red all over like a hairy garment. And they called his name Esau.
So today we know Esau as the so-called white Caucasian men. And continue on.
And after that came his brother out, and his hand took hold on Esau's heel.
So there's no need to describe what what Jacob looked like, because he looked like the rest of the people that was before him. So as you just read, it said the older shall serve the younger. Esau came out first, and Jacob came out second. So Esau, at the end of the day, Esau is going to be servants unto Jacob. And this is a prophecy that the Most High told to Rebecca. So Abraham wasn't really, he didn't know about it at first. Continue on.
And his name was called Jacob. And Isaac was 80 years old when she bare them.
Continue.
And the boys grew, and Esau was a cunning hunter, a man of the field. And Jacob was a plain man, dwelling in tents. And Isaac loved Esau, because he did eat of his venison. But Rebekah loved Jacob.
So Isaac loved Esau, his firstborn, but it said Rebecca loved Jacob because of what the Most High God had told her. Now let's go to, let me see, jump down to verse 30.
Verse 30. And Esau said to Jacob, feed me, I pray thee, with the same red pottage, for I am faint.
So this is when Jacob and Esau got a little older. Esau was out there hunting as usual, and he said, feed me, I pray thee, with the same red pottage, which is, you'll find out, is actually raw meat and blood, which Israel is not commanded to eat. So that's straight against the laws of the Most High God. Continue on.
Therefore was his name called Edom. And Jacob said, sell me. And Jacob said, sell me this day thy birthright. And Esau said, behold, I am at the point to die. And what profit shall this birthright do to me?
He said, what profit shall this birthright do to me? Meaning he didn't care about it at all. A lot of people might just try to say that Jacob deceived him, but nevertheless, it was a prophecy that the Most High God said that was going to happen regardless. So, and this is how it happened. Continue on.
And Jacob said, swear to me this day. And he sware unto him. And he sold his birthright unto Jacob.
So the birthright went to Jacob. And yeah, let's go to actually Genesis. You'll see that the most, when Abraham was close to dying, that he ended up. Let's just go to Genesis 27. Yeah, got it.
Yeah. Genesis 27:5. And Rebekah heard when Isaac spake to Esau, his son. And Esau went to the field to hunt for venison and to bring it. And Rebekah spake unto Jacob her son, saying, behold, I heard thy father speak unto Esau thy brother, saying, bring me venison and make me savory meats, that I may eat and bless thee before the Lord before my death.
So as is one of the customs within Israel, as Abraham had blessed Isaac before he died, Isaac was ready to bless his son before his death, and he was telling Esau, because Esau was the firstborn, but he didn't know that the Most High God already told the prophecy unto Rebekah, and that Esau already had sold his birthright unto Jacob. So this is the reason why Rebekah went to go tell Jacob what happened, and you'll see that that. You can read the rest of the chapter, but you'll see that Jacob had to put on goat fur. Was it goat? Oh yeah, let's go. Verse 16.
Verse 16. And she put skins of kids of the goats up on his hand and up on the smooth of his neck.
Well, don't forget, Esau was hairy, so he was real hairy. We got to try to mimic him because he knew that his father was going to rub his arm, but he had put goat skin on him. Continue on.
And she gave the savory meat and the bread which she had prepared unto the hand her son of Jacob.
Drop down to verse 22.
And Jacob went near unto Isaac his father, and he felt him, and said, The voice is Jacob's voice, but the hands are the hands of Esau. And he discerned him not, because his hands were hairy, as his brother's Esau's hands. So he blessed him, and he said, Art thou my very son Esau? And he said, I am. And he said, Bring it near to me, and I will eat of my son's venison, that my soul may bless thee. And he brought it near to him, and he did eat. And he brought him wine and drank. And he drank. And his father Isaac said unto him, Come near now, and kiss me, my son.
This is where Isaac is going to bless Jacob with the covenant. I guess I'll continue on, actually.
And he came near and kissed him, and smelled the smell of his raiment, and blessed him, and said, See, the smell of my son is as the smell of my son is as the smell of the field, which the Lord has blessed. Therefore God gave thee of the dew of heaven, and the fatness of the earth, and plenty of corn and wine.
So this is the covenant that he's making with him. See on?
Let people serve thee, and nations bow down to thee. Be Lord over thy brethren, and let thy mother's son bow down to thee. Cursed be every one that curses thee, and blessed be he that blesses thee.
So once you come back, if you continue on with the chapter, Esau's going to come back hearing, Esau's going to come back with the venison that his father told him to get, but he's going to be too late, because Abraham said, Isaac's going to tell him, I already gave Isaac to who he thought was Esau. And from now on, drop down to verse 41, actually.
Verse 41, And Esau hated Jacob because of the blessing wherewith his father blessed him. And Esau said in his heart, The days of mourning for my father are at hand. Then will I slay my brother Jacob.
So this is the beginning of why so-called said white man has so much hatred towards us. So this right here, it said Esau hated Jacob because of the blessings wherewith his father blessed him. So Jacob, don't forget, he already sold his birthright. He didn't care from it in the beginning, and now he was pretty much trying to play Jacob and go back and try to receive the birthright again. Wherefore the Most High already prophesied that wasn't going to happen. So nevertheless, the covenant went on to Abraham to Isaac, and Isaac unto Jacob, and then from Jacob his 12 sons, which is the nation of Israel. And just to fast forward, we're going to drop all the way to Exodus 24. It's during the time of Moses, where the actual descendants of the 12 tribes of Israel made an actual blood covenant with the Most High God Yahweh. So we're going to go to Exodus 24, and we could start at verse 1.
Exodus 24 and verse 1. And he said unto Moses, Come up unto the Lord, thou and Aaron, Nadab and Abihu, and 70 of the elders of Israel, and worship ye afar off. And Moses alone shall come near the Lord, but they shall not come nigh, neither shall the people go up with him.
Okay, continue on.
And Moses came and told the people all the words of the Lord, and all the judgments, and all the people answered with one voice, and said, All the words which the Lord has said, we will do.
So this is an agreement that the nation of Israel was making. And it said Moses told them every single word that the Most High God said. And Israel in response said, everything that he said we will do. Continue on.
And Moses wrote all of the words of the Lord and rose up early in the morning and builded an altar under the hill and 12 pillars according to the 12 tribes of Israel.
So, in other words, the covenant is being established again with the nation of Israel, our forefathers, when we was in the wilderness. And Moses had jotted down everything that was said. Continue on.
And he sent young men of the children of Israel, which offered burnt offering and sacrificed peace offerings of oxen unto the Lord. And Moses took half of the blood and put it in the basin, and half of the blood he sprinkled on the altar. And he took up the book of the covenant and read in the audience of the people. And they said, all that the Lord has said we will do, and be obedient.
It's the book of the covenant, which is this law. And it said he read it unto the nation of Israel. And they said that we're going to keep everything that you said that the Most High commanded us to do. And it said that we will be obedient. Continue on.
And Moses took the blood and sprinkled it on the people and said, behold, the blood of the covenant which the Lord has made with you concerning all these words. Then went up Moses and Aaron and Nadab and Abihu, 70 of the elders of Israel, and they saw the God of Israel.
So this is the actual covenant, the blood covenant that the nation of Israel made with the Most High God. And as you said, Moses read the book of the covenant onto them, and they said that we'll follow everything that you said. This is the reason why in Deuteronomy 28, it said, I give you all these blessings if you keep my laws and curses if you don't, because we said that we was going to keep it. And you'll find out throughout history we did not keep it, which leads to the reason why we're in predicaments that we're in now. One more scripture, we're going to end it with 1 Chronicles 16 and verse 13. The Most High God, he only wants the best for his children, but we must obey. And it's, the only way to obey his laws, to get nigh unto the Most High God, is to keep his commandments. So 1 Chronicles 16, verse 13.
1 Chronicles 16, verse 13. O ye seed of Israel, his servant, ye children of Jacob, his chosen ones.
His chosen ones. I said Abraham had another son. It didn't go through him. Went to Isaac. Isaac went down to, had two sons as well, Esau and Jacob. It didn't go to Esau. It went on to Jacob, which was the chosen one, as we just read. Continue on.
He is the Lord our God. His judgments are in all the earth.
So it says he's the Lord our God, is possessive again. As you read it, we made the covenant with Abraham. He said, I'll be the God unto you and your seed after thee for forever generations. Continue on.
Be ye mindful always of his covenant.
So be ye mindful of his covenant, because it's a commandment that you're supposed to teach your children. Psalm 78 said that the testimonies and the old sayings is supposed to be passed down from generation to generation to generation forever. Continue on.
The word which he commanded to 1,000 generations.
1,000 generations. Man, this hasn't even been 1,000 generations since the earth began. So it's still intact right now. Continue.
Even of the covenant which he made with Abraham, and of his oath unto Isaac, and hath confirmed the same to Jacob for a law, and to Israel for an everlasting covenant.
So as you just read, it went from Abraham unto Isaac unto Jacob unto the seeds, all the seeds after him, which leads to us so-called blacks, Latinos, and Native Americans. And it said it's an everlasting covenant. In other words, we must obey the words of the Most High God, his statutes, his commandments, and his judgments, in order to be his chosen nation once again, that he may be our God and that we may be his servants. And with that, say shalom.